Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Nice. Okay, intro montage over. Howdy doody, buckadoodle-doos, and welcome back. So, a while ago I went on the internet box back there and headed over to the electronic bay to buy myself a Radio Shack telephone cassette recorder with voice activation technology, and this was an interesting project. I wanted to create a sort of nostalgic, ghostly vocal drone texture library for myself for some scoring work, and I did, and it turned out pretty cool, so I wrapped it up as a decent sampler instrument, which if you want to check it out, it is right on down there. But instead of meandering on and on and on about sampling, because we've done that to death on this channel, I thought maybe there's a slightly more interesting use of our time. This whole project of, what was essentially hunting around for the junk of yesteryear and exploiting it, made me start thinking about the ideas of nostalgia and why it's a really interesting and powerful thing. So today, I'd like to talk about nostalgia as a sort of tool in the grab bag of things and why it might be one of the better sort of creative hacks that we have as artists. I feel like the digital era has maybe made the same sense of nostalgia I used to feel a bit harder to come by. Everything these days is infinite. There's unlimited photos on your phone, meaning you take pictures of everything and not really the things that end up mattering. Unlimited texts mean we don't tend to choose our words as carefully, and 1,000 streaming services mean the next artist or show is just a tap away. I think this is maybe why we've started to see such a resurgence in things like film cameras. There's something so much more personal about a physical set of images that are so limited. It's really about capturing the moments that matter with the people that matter. In a way, I think this is also why we're seeing such a trend in so many creative mediums to lean into a sense of imperfection that's heavily informed and driven by nostalgia. Things like the overwhelming presence of lo-fi hip-hop, nostalgia memes, period pieces in film and TV, or video games that are heavily influenced by the platformers of yore. Nostalgia as a marketing tool is also extraordinarily powerful, and it's easy to see why. By tapping into positive and familiar associations people have with something, it quickly builds a sense of trust between the consumer and the product. Even simply asking someone to recall or reflect on a nostalgic event tends to cause people to be overly willing to part with their hard-earned cash or accept new ideas. Nostalgia as an emotional response really combines the memory and reward centers of our brain and gives us a sort of direct superhighway into turning something into our favor or getting people to enjoy something. And this is why I think as creators, utilizing nostalgia and these sort of associated mental vignettes is one of the best ways to create something that truly resonates with people on a more emotional level. Digital technology hasn't exactly made things more forgettable. I think it's actually done the opposite. The once hazy memory of last summer is instead captured in crystal clear, stunning 8K Ultra Mega Big Dick HD. Every moment was captured exactly as it was in precise and exacting detail, and not a lot is really left to the imagination. The camera doesn't lie. This lack of a sort of personalization to our memories through rose-colored glasses means that memories are less likely to be open to interpretation or getting the wires crossed in a way that tends to romanticize different events or relationships. While this offers the benefit of a more clear record of events, it also has the psychological impact of making us less reliant on our own memory and less likely to blur the details in a way that's more favorable to reminiscing. There's also something to be said for the change in how we share and preserve these memories. Instead of pulling out the old family photo book laden with the dust of time mid-conversation, we rely on social apps to bring up our memories for us with the bright ding of a notification. The world of digital isn't all bad though. This new level of connection we have now means it's easier than ever to share your stories or connect with people all over the world with similar interests or childhood memories. and we can now keep all of this information stored for effectively eternity, ready to be searched and recalled at a moment's notice. As creators, we also have the advantages of all this new technology to tell our stories or create our work, and share them on massive social media platforms, and create better and more effective works with more precise tools and programs, or use them in a new and creative way that the more nostalgic solution simply wouldn't be able to offer. So, I think as creators, our most effective strategy is to simply utilize the power of telling our story. One that isn't perfect, but one that is interesting. Whenever I'm working on one of these videos or writing music or whatever I'm doing, I feel like a lot of the times when I'm reaching for inspiration and it really ends up working out, it's always from kind of leaning into those sort of 3 a.m. thoughts. There's so much creative fuel in this idea of a mood or a feeling, and I think that is really the magic touch that makes your art your own, because it's only a feeling that you experience that way. This is what I think makes good art and good storytelling so obnoxiously powerful. Games like Firewatch or That Dragon Cancer place you so viscerally into a life you've hopefully never lived that suddenly everything hits you like a ton of bricks because you can empathize on such a primal emotional level. Nostalgia as a delivery vehicle for empathy from the audience can create something that's so much more powerful than a more generalized narrative or work. Video games also make particularly good use of this, I think, because not only can they do all of the above here, but they can present it in a medium that's also interactive, adding a much deeper layer of connection between audience and story by effectively making them live it themselves. Through nostalgia, you can identify with the feelings or moods conveyed by a work, even though it's not necessarily something that you've lived, and this is really the thing that drives it home. If you create something in this way, it truly lets the audience revel in the power of experiencing something for the first time. These days, we tend to be forced to utilize a more modern means to an end when creating. But it doesn't mean that we can't use these same narrative tools to imbue a sense of nostalgic awe into our work. By learning to zoom out and take a moment to appreciate and find the imperfections in something, we can use them as the driving force to help actualize the end result in a much more profound way. Bringing the flaws of something forward makes them stand out in a way that reignites some kind of association for the audience in a way that doing things correctly just doesn't quite match up to. This isn't really meant to be some kind of boomer rant glorifying and fetishizing the difference between analog and digital or vinyl versus CD or anything like that, or things just being more real, man, because that's all meaningless. But I think there is something to be said for the power of utilizing the restrictions of something to inform the final result, because that's what creates something a bit more impactful. Maybe Brian Eno puts it best. Whatever you now find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about a new medium will surely become its signature. All of these things will be cherished and emulated as soon as they can be avoided. Not only is there nostalgic value in imperfection, but there is a nostalgic value in pushing things beyond the boundaries of what you would normally do, because it ends up bringing your work forward in a way that represents the totality of it. Musicians like Ben Frost or Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are well known for pushing digital recording to the limits in combination with older equipment to create these extraordinary scores and sonic landscapes. The Black Keys made a name for themselves by bringing the idea of regional blues music to the mainstream by combining it with the sort of modern hipster aesthetic. Artists like Louise Bourgeois take their artistic mediums to strange new levels, and games like Superliminal challenge the fundamental expectations we have when experiencing something familiar. The true power in exploring these flaws and embracing the challenges they represent, especially when framed through some kind of nostalgic flair, can create something unique and memorable by utilizing risk and innovation to create work that stands out. Embracing the flaws is the best way to hide the flaws, because then the flaws become the signature. Nostalgia is an exceptionally useful tool as a creator, and it's one that's really sensible to exploit in order to get your audience to identify with something on an unexpectedly emotional level. There's a strange magic to allowing someone to take a moment and examine that two-dimensional version of the life they're putting on pause to re-experience or revisit something so deeply personal to them that suddenly is being expressed by someone else in a way that words will never truly describe. And that is the true power of stories. Everybody's got one. And until next time, I would love it if you would go out there and tell a little bit of yours. The end. If you enjoyed the video and you want more videos like it, there's a ton of ways you can support the channel and make that happen with the links down in the description below. And of course, a massive thank you to all of my patrons for your continued support and making videos like this possible. If you have some other thoughts on all this that you want to share, feel free to do that down in the comments below. I love the discussions that these types of videos tend to start. And until next time, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And of course, as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.